Valutrades. Hey value traders, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be, and welcome to our webinar on analyzing a currency pair. Well, what does that mean? Basically, we're looking at analyzing Forex indices, metals in pairs, not just individual currencies or elements. We need to think in pairs. So I'm going to be going through a lot of very, very basic stuff and working our way up to some more advanced techniques on analyzing currency pairs. And of course, a great surprise from Valutrades. We're going to be introducing a really cool new feature that will cover about 100 different symbols. So stay tuned in this webinar, carry on through, and you'll be really amazed at what we have to show you. If some of the information in the beginning seems a bit basic to you, don't worry. It's going to be getting a lot more interesting and a lot more advanced as we go through the webinar. Thanks a lot. My name is Brad Alexander. Most of you hopefully know me from various webinars with Valutrades. I've worked for Valutrades for many years, and I do the Market Blast every Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully that's getting more popular. We have thousands of subscribers now, and we get a lot of views every Monday, Tuesday. So thank you very much if you're one of those viewers who watches it and makes comments and hopefully makes a profit on your trading. That's what we're here for. Right, so I'm basically, I've been a trader for many, many years. I used to trade the peseta. Luis can look that up. He probably knows what that is. Not the escudo, just the peseta years and years ago. I've been doing this for a long time. My basic function day to day is to create content for brokers, for fintech companies, and Valutrades is my favorite client. I'm not just saying that, it's absolutely true. So tune in and catch us on Mondays and Tuesdays with the Market Blast. And of course, we need to go through the disclaimer. Please take a look at the disclaimers and risk warning on the Valutrades website. If you're not sure about investing real money before you get going, please be careful. You can always jump on the chat line with Valutrades. They're very, very helpful, and they're interested that you actually make a profit. So, and follow along with our lessons. We've got lots and lots of lessons on YouTube. We have educational seminars, and be careful because CFDs and FX are leveraged products and your capital may be at risk. So what are we going to be talking about today? We called it analyzing a currency pair. Well, what I need you to do, even if you're not a beginning trader, even if you're a intermediate trader, I want you to start thinking in pairs. And that sounds pretty basic, doesn't it? But you'd be surprised how many people don't think in pairs, especially when you're trading currencies. It's a binary function, and even if you're trading indices, you need to be thinking in pairs. And I'm going to explain what that means in a couple of minutes. Another way to take a look at currency pairs is with trader sentiment. We did a trader sentiment webinar a few months ago, so I won't go through every little detail of it. I'll go through a few slides to just refresh everybody's memory. If you want to know more about trader sentiment, again, Valutrades has some very good information on their website, and the customer service people can help you. And there's another webinar on demand on trader sentiment. And there's also the same thing. We have two webinars on Valutrades signals. If you're the type who doesn't want to be spending lots of time, and a lot of people can't, analyzing currency pairs and analyzing the markets, you can use Valutrade signals. And that's a valid way to trade. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't have the time to follow the lessons I'm going to give you in this webinar. Right, Mt4 Profiles. If you watch my Market Blast videos Mondays and Tuesdays, you'll notice that I use profiles quite a lot. And to me, this is the most valuable tool, up until now, the most valuable tool. And I'm going to show you what these profiles can do for you, how you can do a strong week analysis. And if we have time in this webinar, I'll show you how to actually set one up. They're very, very easy on Mt4. Okay, Valutrades, and this is the surprise I was talking about earlier on our last videos. Valutrades has developed what they call a currency pair page. In fact, there's about 100 pages looking at various different currencies and symbols, indices, etc. And I'm going to be going through that to show you exactly what it is. And it's actually, I must say, it's quite awesome. There's a lot of information and a lot of helpful stuff on these pages. But you'll have to bear with me and get through this webinar before I'm gonna leave that till near the end. Sorry about that. But the fun bits are gonna come near the end of this webinar. And I'm going to end the webinar in what I call the order of analysis. I have a very specific, when I'm trading professionally or for myself, I have a very specific order that I go in before I actually push the button, pull the trigger, open a position. So no matter what you do, no matter how you trade, whether it's through fundamental analysis, through signals, through the new Valutrades currency page, there's still what I call an order of analysis, and I'm going to be showing you what that is near the end of the video, near the end of the webinar. Okay, when I say thinking in pairs, I mean that literally. I found some slides that I did for some students I did many, many years ago. I was asked to teach a bunch of software developers who work in the financial services market, the basics of the market. And I found these slides that I did. And again, you may already be quite familiar with thinking in pairs, but I'm going to go through this anyway. So bear with me if this is below your pay grade. So every day we go out and buy stuff. We go to the supermarket and buy a tube of toothpaste, or we go buy a car. But we don't think in pairs. We think of the money we save, we think of the money in our wallet, we think of what's coming off our credit card. But if you think in pairs, we are actually buying in pairs. If you buy a T-shirt in Miami, you're buying T-shirt versus US dollar. If you're buying a car in Australia, you're buying car heavier versus versus Australian dollar. So you're actually working in pairs. If you're living in that country, earning a salary in US dollars or pounds or whatever, you probably don't need to think in pairs, but traders do. I do all the time. Believe it or not, if I'm buying a tube of toothpaste, I know the price can fluctuate, not on the cost of the toothpaste, but also the cost of the currency. So we need to be thinking in pairs all the time. So if you want to buy some vodka in Russia, you're actually buying vodka versus ruble. And we know right now that the ruble is a bit of a roller coaster ride. So I'm sure the price of vodka is fluctuating in Russia right now. In Japan, for example, buying sushi in Japanese yen, again, sounds pretty basic, but it's a pair, and you need to think in pairs all the time, no matter what you're doing. So every transaction we make is a pair. It doesn't matter if you're trading oil or trading gold, which I'm going to be beating that drum all through this webinar about trading gold, or especially Forex pairs. So if we consider everything as a pair, one of the most important ways to consider a pair is gold, because we trade gold typically against the US dollar. So very often people say, well, what's the value of gold? Well, it's not just the value of gold. As we know, gold fluctuates with geopolitical events, very little in supply and demand unless governments are buying a lot of gold, but it also fluctuates with the price of the value of the US dollar. So I'll go through that in great detail later. So we're looking at oil. Oil, again, is also bought and sold in US dollars. It's important to understand that when the US dollar fluctuates, so does the price of oil. You're trading stocks. You're generally buying, if you're buying on the indices like Apple I've got here, you're paying for it in US dollars by the share. So we've got basic pairs that we're used to. And I know this is very, very basic to probably all of you, but let's go through it anyway. So we've got pairs that we're looking at: euro dollar, pound dollar, we call that cable, dollar CAD, we call loonie. I had a broker once tell me that it was called loonie because it fluctuates so much. No, it's not. It's because I'm Canadian, and our dollar coin has a loon on it. It's a bird, so it's called a loonie. Dollar yen, pound yen, we actually call that guppy sometimes. Euro yen, as you know, there are a myriad different pairs that we look at. So again, I'm going to keep saying this word: pairs, pairs, pairs. So we basically look at the Forex majors as the hub of all the foreign exchange, and the Forex majors are those basically that are paired with the US dollar. And very, very quickly, you need to understand as well, when I go through my Mt4 profiles, which is the quote currency and which is the base currency, but we'll go through that in a few minutes. Basically, the Forex market hinges around the US dollar. So for example, if you're trading New Zealand dollar versus US dollar, that's one step in one transaction. But if you're trading Canadian dollar versus yen, then there's a conversion there in the middle. So that's why sometimes the spreads are quite high, or higher, I should say. Valutrades has amazing spreads. If you look at euro dollar, very often zero. Gold, for example, is very often 7 or 8 cents, which is the lowest I've seen in the industry for years and years. We call the euro, we call crosses. Any pair that does not have the US dollar in it is called a cross. So euro Swiss, for example, euro pound is a cross. Okay, we have Japanese yen crosses, and you'll notice that the Japanese yen is always the quote currency. Pound crosses, and we have a lot of other different exotic crosses. So again, I'm drilling this home. You need to be thinking in pairs, whether it's Australian dollar versus Swiss franc, or a tube of toothpaste versus the pounds that are in your pocket. Always think in pairs, because it's a it's a bilateral arrangement. When one goes up, the other one can go down. Okay, I mentioned earlier about gold, and this is really, really important. You need to be very aware about thinking in pairs with gold. And I'm going to repeat what I just said. Gold doesn't fluctuate because gold fluctuates. It fluctuates very often because it's pegged, its quote currency is the US dollar. So I've actually made some pretty good trades. My bread and butter trade is news trading, and I will trade off the back of the non-farm payrolls and American CPI or retail sales. And I look for counter trend trades. You've probably heard me say that phrase many, many times. And very often I will find that there are no suitable trades against the US majors like Euro dollar or dollar Swiss or dollar yen, but I can make a really good trade on gold dollar because it may be going in a different direction. So you should consider this pair, XAU USD, as a pair, as another Forex. So again, I'm going to repeat, the price of gold doesn't just fluctuate because some central government's buying it or there's a war on. It's because very often the US dollar decides to fluctuate. And it's also the same, and this is a bit of an anomaly with the FTSE 100. This is not necessarily part of the topic, but I wanted to bring this to your attention in that the UK 100, which is the UK index measuring the top 100 companies in the UK, will actually fluctuate based on the pound. And the reason is that these companies, most of their income is actually foreign. So if they're getting foreign income in American dollars, Australian dollars, or euros, and the price of the pound fluctuates, that affects their balance sheet. So you very often find that if the pound goes up dramatically, the UK 100 or the FTSE 100 can actually go down and vice versa. So that's another way to consider analyzing based on pairs. As I said earlier, on the Valutrades website, we have a thing called Client Trader Sentiment. I'm going to be going, if you click on the menu bar, and I'm going to go through this very quickly because we have a webinar, an on-demand webinar on the Valutrades YouTube page or on the actual webinar section of the website. So basically go to the menu, click on Resources, look for Tools, and there's a thing called Trading Sentiment. And basically what we do, we give you, I believe it's 5 or 6 different pairs. So euro dollar, gold, dollar yen, cable, which is pound dollar, and Aussie dollar. And this is the sentiment based on what current value traders have open positions. So in this case, this is an old slide, so don't make any trades based on this. Euro dollar, for example, 62% of Valutrades traders are long. If you look at dollar yen, only 22.5% are long. So you can actually use this as a guide. You may not want to base your trading decisions on this, but it's always good to have a confirmation when you're doing your technical or fundamental analysis. So this is another good way to analyze at least these 5 pairs. And these are the major ones with a lot of liquidity. Euro dollar is the most traded pair on the planet. I mean, trillions go through this every day in terms of foreign exchange. Gold, obviously, dollar yen, pound dollar, and the Australian dollar versus US dollar, because these 4 are huge economies. The euro and the US are the biggest economies, of course, outside of China. And of course, gold we all know about. It's a very popular traded instrument. So take a look at the Valutrades trader sentiment. You might find it interesting, and watch the fluctuations that other of your value traders are doing with their long and short positions. Okay, we also have Valutrade signals, and again, we've done lots of other videos and webinars on Valutrade signals, so you can actually take a look and see what's going on there. But it's a completely valid way to trade because you have some serious, and they're good friends of mine, some serious experts behind the scenes creating these signals and broadcasting. So when you're getting these from Society of Technical Analysts diploma holders. These are not just people throwing darts at a dartboard. So again, go to the Valutrades website, click on the menu, go to Resources, go to Tools, and then click on Free Trading Signals. And yes, they're free. You don't need to have a a certain amount of deposited in a Valutrades account. We trust Valutrades, trust that you'll come back and open an account and enjoy Valutrades' fantastic spreads. So you can go to the Valutrades signals page, you can sign up for it, and you can start getting signals to your email straight away. And you can see also there's a Telegram group where you can get signals as well. And there's a lot of information and a video on the Valutrades website as to what the signals are about and basically why should you care. And again, I mentioned earlier, some people don't have the time to be analyzing the markets. We've got so much going on in our lives. Why not use the signals? It's a very valid way to trade. Okay, here's a signal here, live trade on the NASDAQ. It gives you the rationale, it gives you stop loss, it gives you the profit target, and it gives you the confidence that the analysts or the systems have in this particular signal. And as I said, you can also get it on your mobile, so you don't have to be sitting in front of your desktop to get these signals. And here's a typical chart you'll get with the signal. You can see on the right-hand side of the chart, you've got a green and pink. The green is the blue line is where you would enter the trade, and a sell trade in this case. The green is where you'd expect your profit target, and the pink is where you would expect to have your stop loss. So if you look at this, you've got a 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio. So not only have the signal providers given you some good opportunities, they've also calculated your risk for you. Okay. I talked earlier about using Mt4 profiles, and again, this is my favorite way to analyze pairs. And the reason I use profiles is I like to put all the different currencies on one page. So basically, on this page, it says Australian dollar. I've got Aussie dollar, I've got Euro Aussie, I've got Aussie yen, I've got Aussie Swiss, I've got Aussie Kiwi, I've got Aussie CAD, and I've got pound Aussie. So basically, when I take a look, and you may have seen these pages on the Market Blast videos, you should almost every time I have these, I look at the overall picture on certain currencies. So if I look at this quickly, and again, considering that Aussie dollar, the Aussie versus US dollar, Australian dollar is the base currency. So when the chart goes up, it means the Australian dollar is getting stronger and vice versa. The one below that is Euro Aussie. So when the chart goes down, the Australian dollar is getting stronger. So if I looked at this, I would say, hey, there's something going on here with the Australian dollar. It's basically showing me strength right across the board. In fact, the bottom right shows me pound Aussie, where the pound is getting weaker and the Australian dollar is getting stronger. So I may want to consider the Australian dollar in my next trade. So let's go on. I do this with every single currency pair, with every currency. So basically I go next to the New Zealand dollar. And again, I can see a couple of areas where it looks stronger, but overall it's giving me sort of a flat feeling. Aussie versus Kiwi, Kiwi versus CAD, pound versus Kiwi, they're fairly flat, even though I've got some strength against the US dollar. I've got some strength against the yen, and right now the yen, spoiler alert, is the weakest currency, and I've got some strength against the Swiss franc. If I carry on, here's the biggie. This is the one that all analysts pay attention to, and that's the US dollar. So if you, by the way, these are 4-hour charts. If you switch this to the daily chart, and at the end of this webinar, I'll go through and actually do some profile building, and we'll switch to the daily charts and see what they look like. You get a totally different picture. So when you're using Mt4 profiles to gauge the strength of a currency, and I'm talking about a currency, not a currency pair, you need to be using the time frame that you're comfortable with. This is the 4-hour chart, and it gives you a very good look over the last few days. So if I look at this now, I can see clearly euro dollar, clearly the dollar was strong, and then suddenly in the last couple of days, it's gone weak again. In fact, if I look right across the board, the American dollar has gone weak literally in the last 2 days, but that doesn't mean it's weak overall. And I'll show you in a few minutes on an actual Mt4 profile how to change time frames and what we look at. So I'm going through, I'm checking all my different currencies. I could say that yes, the American dollar is getting weaker, but only in the last couple of days. So I need to be very careful as to what sort of trade that I place on that. Okay, here we have the pound. It's pretty much mixed. I mean, We know there are a lot of fundamental problems right now in the UK, so the pound is going to be fluctuating a bit. And if I carry on to the yen, we also know the exact same. Sorry, that's not true. There's similar problems with in Japan, but they're more fiscal than fundamental. And the Japanese yen has been quite weak. So I would be very, very surprised to not see the yen looking very, very weak. And because the yen is the quote currency in all these charts, when the chart price action goes up, it means that the yen is getting weaker. So we may want to consider, and the reason I'm doing this, I'm going to go back in a second and take a look at all these. And here we have the Swiss franc. It's been weak over the last couple of days, but pretty much flat overall. It's strong against the Japanese yen, but everything isn't it? And finally, I go to the Canadian dollar. So I've got, again, strength against the yen, but everything else is sort of flat, and maybe a bit of strength against the euro. So now that I've done my analysis, I can actually go back and do my strong weak. So if I look back at all these different profiles that I looked at, I could say, hand on heart, that the Australian dollar was the strongest currency and the Japanese yen was the weakest currency. So I may want to go straight there, go to Aussie yen and take a look at a trade there. And I do this all the time. I look, because there's no point in saying, hey, maybe there's something good happening on pound Kiwi. And then you find out when you do your strong weak analysis that you're dealing with two weak currencies. You really can't make any prediction based on where you think it might go, or maybe they're two strong currencies. You need to be able to analyze, and this is very, very important to be able to do a strong weak analysis. So I've actually made some pretty good trades over the years just by simply doing this and then saying, hey, I found out that the Australian dollar is the strongest currency, not currency pair, currency, and the Japanese yen is the weakest. So I'm going to open up the Australian dollar Japanese yen chart and see if there's an opportunity there. Again, you don't just place a trade based on that. You still have to go through your usual due diligence, support and resistance, chart patterns, candle patterns, whatever, fundamentals, whatever you do. But this, again, I'm spending a lot of time on this, but this is very, very important to get to know how to use Mt4 profiles. Okay, so here's the surprise. Valutrades is creating what they call a pairs page. This is a particular, an example of the euro dollar. So it's combining quite a few things. Obviously on the left, we've got a very simple order ticket. It shows you basically what's been happening with euro dollar during the day. In this case, it's down 4.42%. It's got the bid price and the ask price. And if you'll notice that the bid price and ask price are the same, that's because Valutrade spreads, and it says right there, 0.0 are excellent. So you'll be able to click on this and either buy or sell that particular currency after you've done your analysis. Okay, so what's that sexy half a donut in the middle? That is news analytics. It's basically a radial gauge, we call it. And where does this come from? The radial gauge is based on news analytics. And I have to, here, full confession here, I used to work for a couple of years in the news analytics business, and I've seen these donuts and charts and all kinds of alerts a billion times, and believe me, they work. So the way this works, there are artificial intelligence, machine learning, very intelligent computers constantly looking for news on the euro, on the dollar, and on euro dollar. And it's able to weed out the bearish sentiment from the bullish sentiment, and it creates a radial gauge like this. So in this case, it's saying that the media, the news, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, professional traders are 75% in favor of going long on euro dollar, where 24.6% are in favor of going short. So that's a very good sentiment indicator based on news analytics and artificial intelligence, and it's pretty cool. They've been doing this for years. So over the years, the machine learning builds up a way to look at things, and they can very carefully, very cleverly filter out what's not financial news. And one of the beauties of Forex is that it's very difficult to say euro dollar and not be talking about financial news. I mean, I've seen the same things with companies like Coca-Cola or Volkswagen. And these machines could be looking for news on Coca-Cola or Volkswagen, but you could also pick up a lot of other stuff that simply does not have anything to do with the financial markets. The beauty of the Forex market, and I repeat, is that it's very difficult for the machines to get it wrong. So one of the ways I used to use this news analytics was in the same way I use the profiles just now. Don't just look at the euro dollar and say, oh my God, I'm going long because news analytics says long 75%. Take a look at all the other, and again, Valutrades will be publishing these very soon. There'll be about 100 pairs showing a page like this. You'll be able to spend 24 hours a day watching and studying the pairs page on the Valutrades website. I can't wait. But don't just look at euro dollar, look at euro Aussie or dollar yen. See what the other, again, just like the profile pages I showed you on MT4, you'll be able to take a look at these radial gauges and take a look and see what else is going on in terms of what's the euro doing. And the reason I'm saying this is that, again, I'm going to repeat, let's say you think, okay, everybody's long 75%, but let's say you look at all the other euro pair gauges and they were the exact opposite. I'd be a bit wary. So this tool could be awesome in the hands of the right trader. So once it's launched, we'll let you know. And if you want to know more details on it, keep tuning into our Market Blast videos Mondays and Tuesdays. And as soon as we're getting closer, I'll be letting you know when it'll be launched, and I'll be actually using these on the Market Blast video. So I can't wait myself. So we'll probably have a snippet. And again, if you want to see any particular information, webinars, topics on Market Blast, just send a note to the Valutrades customer service people. Also on the pairs page, we will have the signals as well. So here we have a signal that's in place. It's a sell limit, and if you don't know what a sell limit is, that can be explained in other videos. Our sell limit, buy limit, sell stop, and buy stop are detailed quite heavily in the signals webinars, and of course there are quite a few educational videos that we've done on this particular way of opening orders. In fact, we just did one recently on different types of order entries and positions. The date of the signals published, the target, the stop loss, and the confidence. So it will all be there for you on one simple page. So just to recap, you've got an order ticket that shows the spread and the price. You've got news analytics, which will show you what's happening in the world, in the financial world with that particular pair. And on the right, you've got the wonderful signals that Valutrades provide you for free. And down below on every page, there'll be a profile description of each pair. So in this case, it says euro dollar represents the cost of a single euro in US dollars. Because the European Union and the American dollar represent the largest global economies, this pair is often favored among traders. So it's absolutely true. The amount of liquidity on euro dollar is much, much higher than anything else. It also mentions about inflation, recession, wars, and so forth. And this is when we get into fundamental analysis. We won't go into that too much in detail in this particular webinar, but in fact, it'll all make sense when I show you my final slide. Okay. Also on the pairs page, you'll have a chart basically showing you the volumes that are being traded and the pivot points, the resistance, support, and resistance. And again, I cannot harp on how important it is to watch support and resistance, trend lines, and so forth. I've seen so many people make so many mistakes by selling too close to a line of, buying too close to a line of resistance and selling too close to a line of support because they got enthusiastic, they got a signal, they heard it from their friend, and then you find out after you've placed the trade, oops, my position hit support and bounced back up, and I hit my stop loss. So these particular this bit of information on the pivot points and the 6 levels of support and resistance are critical. And again, I mean, I'm trading all the time. I'm doing analysis all the time. I'm constantly drawing support and resistance lines. You've seen the Market Blast videos. I don't stop drawing lines, trend lines, resistance lines. Well, these lay it out for you. So it will show you exactly where the next line of support is and the next line of resistance. And again, going to repeat, these will be launched very soon, and Valutrades tells me there'll be about 100 pairs. So you can use your imagination as to what what you'll be able to play with when that comes out. And keep an eye on the Market Blast videos, and I'll be able to let you know when it's happening. And on the bottom of each page, there'll be news reports. So especially things like gold, the American dollar, will have news reports, current news on every particular pair. And this will be important in things like indices when earnings report comes out. In fact, this week is a very, very important week for earnings reports from some of the biggest companies in the States and Europe. So indices will be fluctuating, and you'll be able to follow this on the Valutrades pairs pages. Okay, this is what I was talking about in terms of my order of analysis. And again, it doesn't matter how you analyze your pairs. I always follow this checklist. I don't just get into a trade because my friend's in it or I heard a rumor or whatever. I make sure I know what's going on with each individual pair before I open a trade. And the first thing I look at, pardon me, is fundamental analysis. And you'll notice that I look at fundamental analysis on the Mondays in the Market Blast videos, and I save the technical until Tuesdays. And the reason is that technical, I'd like to have a day for the markets to settle down before I look at technicals. Fundamentals are critical because I need to tell you, the trader, the value traders, what big news events are coming up, because there's no point in opening a trade and then you find out 3 hours later that US retail sales came in way lower than expected and your trade is blown because you didn't understand that a news event was coming up. So it's always important to keep in mind the fundamentals, especially these days with central banks are struggling to keep inflation under control. They say they're going to raise the interest rates by 0.25%, and then 2 days before they change their minds to 0.5%. And you need to be keeping an eye on this because this will definitely impact the way you trade. If you go short on euro dollar and then you find out that the European Central Bank's going to increase their interest rate by more than they thought, then that trade may be blown. You need to be really paying attention. Next thing to look at is support and resistance. Oh, and I just mentioned this in the previous slide. Always chart your support and resistance, because though support and resistance is the maximum and minimum that the market is willing to pay during a given time. And that is critically important. Chart patterns, again, if you watch my videos, you know I'm addicted to chart patterns. I find chart patterns are the graphic representation of the mood of the market. So a fundamental analysis in a bite-size pretty picture form. Then I go on to indicators. I mean, I know people who just jump on the trades based on fractals or Bollinger Bands or stochastic oscillator or MACD. I use those as a confirmation tool, not as something that gets me into the trade. I do the first three above that, then I look at the indicators. And again, if you know me, that you know my favorite indicator is the stochastic oscillator. I find it very, very valuable. And I also look at candlestick patterns at the last. I don't jump in and make a trade based on a morning star or a hammer candle. It's great to have that confirmation, though, that a reversal is coming up. Okay, what I'm going to do now, we've got a bit of time left. I'm going to go back to Mt4, and it's on a screen over here. And what I'd like to do is to show you basically how I set up a profile. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if I click on profiles on Mt4, excuse me for 2 seconds. Yep, that's the right screen. Thank you very much. Always good to know I'm showing the right screen to my value traders. If I click on the profiles button, you will see here, maybe too small to see on your screen, I've got all the profiles that I showed you on those slides. I've got Canadian dollar, US dollar, pound, yen, Swiss franc, Aussie dollar, and Kiwi dollar. And I've got another one for metals. So if I click on Kiwi dollar, I get exactly what my slide showed you. These are all the Kiwi pairs sitting right here on one convenient screen. Okay, and if you're not familiar with how this works, I can click, if I click on I can expand a chart. So now I'm looking at Kiwi dollar. If I click on the tile button, they all go back to where I started. Let's say, for example, I wanted, this is the Aussie Kiwi chart here, but I wanted it to be bigger. All I need to do is drag the Aussie Kiwi chart into the first 4, click on the tile button, and now the Aussie Kiwi chart is basically sitting with the larger charts. MT4 is not very forgiving when it comes to arranging. You can actually arrange things manually, but once you click the button, it snaps back to where you left it. So basically, that is a profile of the Kiwi dollar. Let me go back. I promised you I'd take a look at the U.S. dollar. So let's go back to U.S. dollar. And as I said, this is the 4-hour chart. So I can very easily change all these to daily charts, and you'll see the complexion of the trend changes dramatically. So depending on the style of trading that you do, will dictate how you analyze a pair. In this case, we're analyzing a currency. So if I go to the daily chart, we can see a very, very different picture. In fact, again, here we are, dollar yen. It's a one-way street. Pound dollar, it's a one-way street. Same with Kiwi dollar. Aussie dollar is also dropping dramatically. We've got a lot of fluctuation between the US dollar and the Swiss franc, but we've got almost a one-way street basically with the euro. So when I change to the daily time frame, you can see the complexion of this profile changes as well. And you can imagine if I change to the 15-minute time frame, it would be different as well. So what I'm looking for is consistency. I want to see basically almost all my pairs going in the same direction before I can say the American dollar is weak or the American dollar is strong. So I'm changing it now back to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so the way that I make up a profile, it's really quite simple. Let's go back to our default, and there's always a default template or a profile on. So what I'm going to do now is basically get rid of everything. And again, if you already know how to do this, I apologize, but there are a lot of traders who ask me about templates, a lot of students who ask me about templates and profiles. So let's say, for example, okay, I've cleaned this totally. So I'm going to go to now, and I'm going to save profile as, and of course, here we are. So save profile as, and I'm going to call it US dollar 2, not to be confused with the one I've already made. Okay, so basically now I'm going to open up my market watch, and I'm going to add charts. Okay, there's dollar Swiss. I could right click on cable and add a chart window, right click on euro dollar chart window. So this will just take me literally seconds to create. Okay, so I've added a bunch of US dollar pairs. I can click on the tile, and I've got 6. So I'm missing one. Anyway, not to worry. So let's get rid of the market watch. This is a profile I've got now for, and basically it's opened up my charts with the default template. So I'll just get rid of all the. So that's basically how you create a profile. It's really quite simple. And again, I encourage you on your MT4 platforms to do this with all your currencies. And again, I'm using this not to analyze pairs, but I'm using this to analyze the currencies themselves. So here we have a whole bunch of charts. Let's say I wanted euro dollar to be in the very beginning, so I get its attention. It gets my attention, I should say. So I'll drag it over there, click, and now I've got euro dollar on the top left. Okay, and I can also now, if I want, I can actually drag in labels. Okay, so that seems like a tedious way to make a lot of profiles. Well, I'm going to show you that's the way to make the first profile. Making the second profile is much, much easier. So what I'm going to do, meta quotes, MT4 always say they have auto save. Well, I don't always trust it. So before I go, I'm going to save profile as. I'm going to make sure I save this profile, US dollar 2, so I know it's saved. Okay, so here's something else we can do. Let's go to now and create another profile. And again, I've created 7 profiles because I want to look at the 7 major currencies. So let's call this CAD2. So I'm looking at the Canadian dollar. Okay, and instead of doing what I did and dragging in I can do something. Here's a trick I'm going to show you on MT4 that not many people know about. First of all, let's get rid of that. If you click on the date on the very bottom left corner, double click on it, you can actually type in here. So let's call this EuroCAD. And voila, it changes. Let's do this one down here. Let's call this CAD Swiss. Okay, we already have, here we have $CAD over here, so I don't need to change that. So here we have the pound. So let's say I make a mistake and I type in CAD pound, which is a pair that doesn't exist. It rejects it, so you won't make a mistake. So I'm going to type in GBP CAD. So I've made my pound CAD. And here we have CAD yen. And here we have Aussie CAD. Okay, and just for good measure, another way to do it is let's open Market Watch. You can actually drag the currencies onto the chart and it will replace them. So the one I'm missing actually is Kiwi CAD. See, this is it. This is it. Valutrades has so many pairs I can't find it. Not a problem. Let's just get rid of this. We're running out of time. So let's say I've got my EuroCAD and let's say I want $CAD to be in the very beginning. I drag it to the front. Oops, I've missed, sorry. Drag that to the front. Click. And now I've got $CAD on the top left corner right where I want it. You don't have to do the text. I just do it. I'm just doing it for this lesson to be convenient. Okay, so that's how to set up a profile in Profiles in MT4. And again, if you see my videos, I'm going through these profiles all the time. I never stop looking at the profiles. My templates are all set up. I've got profiles for US indices. I've got profiles for metals. I've got profiles for Asian indices, etc. So they're very, 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 very handy. And again, this webinar is about analyzing currency pairs. And for me, I can't analyze a pair unless I know what each individual currency is doing. So, but the beauty of this is you don't necessarily need to do this if you don't want to, because very soon we're going to be producing our amazing Valutrades pairs page. Okay, that's it. Well, again, keep an eye on your Valutrades emails, keep an eye on the Market Blast videos, and we'll be telling you, we'll hopefully do a countdown as to when Valutrades will be launching these pair pages. And trust me, they're going to be amazing. I've been using news analytics for many years, and it's very, very good. And the fact that you can get it for free from Valutrades is a triple bonus. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. Happy value trading.